I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Public comments.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a prayer for this meeting and our schools. Father, we just thank you today for this school system. We thank you for the teachers, the administration, and most of all for the students that attend these schools. Father God, we know that you watch over them all, watch care, that their angels are before your face every single day, and that we ask you to give them authority and ability to guide and to keep them and to guard them from any harm, physical, spiritual, moral. It doesn't matter, Father God, you would watch over them with all the watch care. Father, we just expect to see revelation. We expect to see inspiration and expectation in this school district, Father God, for the students, for the teachers. God, that your wisdom and grace would rule and that your light would come and drive out all darkness. We pray for this meeting tonight that it would be ruled by grace, by wisdom, by kindness, and by the Spirit of the living God. We thank you now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Marvin, Superintendent likewise.
Okay, yeah, I'm Marvin. I live in Greenville. I'd like to make a couple of brief comments. One about the superintendent candidates and one about likewise. So about superintendent candidates, I've done some research, both online as well as looking at the videos that were provided. Thank you very much for those available. And in my estimation, looking at the candidates for this year and comparing with the candidates from last year, Preston Cameron is definitely the best one. He's got a good set of experience. He's been a college administrator, a business executive in finance, and I think we really need some help in that area. No slam on Carly, you're doing a great job, but I think the really getting the financial end of things under control, and so I would like to ask the board to strongly consider that candidate for the position. The other thing I'd like to mention is Lifewise Academy. I'm in support of that. I think it's a real asset to schools. If we look back at American history, for many years, like most of our history, that content was taught, and it's the basis for American ethics in the legal system. So I'm in favor of it, and I really support it in Native country.
Any comments or responses
You'll have to ask questions.
to?
Like Marvin, so.
Um,
Hey Marvin.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, it was just, when our kids were growing up, they were part of this Awanas program at the church.
Yep.
And it was amazing. And we would bring the kids from like 6 to 8 and they'd get a snack and they'd learn Bible verses and it was incredible. And, our kids have also attended CCD for Catholic education over at the St. Peter and Paul schools.
I'm not familiar with that.
And so I was just wondering, is this something that could be done at the churches like the Awanas did at the Mountain Shadows Baptist and St. Peter and Paul did at their facilities? Is there something that the churches could offer for this?
I think Michael's going to answer a lot of those.
Oh, good,
questions, too.
okay.
Should we wait till that time or do we want to do it?
We can wait.
Bible-based here through.
On the agenda, we want to talk about.
Should we
that?
just wait? Okay,
Are you okay with something on later?
yeah, whatever works for everyone.
Anything else? Move on to approval of minutes, consent agenda. Consent agenda, anybody make a motion to accept that or?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
You have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Reports. Superintendent report.
Yeah, my three goals is bringing the joy back to learning, teaching, and living in Mountain View School District. At the beginning of the year, I shared the song by Bing Crosby, "Accept What's Positive and Eliminate the Negative." And really been trying to focus on that. Taking the time to celebrate good things. We focus too much on the negative in life in general, but I think
Schools
we'll
have
have
too.
to.
So I've asked the building principals to include a staff spotlight in every one of their building reports, and you'll see that we've had one every time, because we need to recognize those staff members who are going above and beyond in the buildings, and we have a lot. You also will see data in each of your board reports, and if you have questions about that data, please be sure and give me a call and have me explain it, or reach out to the building principals so that they can explain it to you as well. So somebody told me once the best way to get rid of a ghost is shine some light on it, and so we've been trying to shine some light on the positive things in the district. Developing processes and procedures, that has been a focus all year long, and trying to get back to procedures that used to be in place, but due to turnover, they've been lost, and I've been trying to leave a roadmap for all of those things. So lots and lots of documents there for the new superintendent, interviews, hiring processes, reviewing policies. We've cranked through a ton of those. Great policy committee. Job descriptions, clarity in evaluation procedures, working with the administrators on that. And I'm proud to say that in my districts, every employee is evaluated every year, and so that is important. And then the final thing, everyone learning every single day. Holy cow, keeping up with the legislature this year was a lot. And trying to figure out how to make sure that we are implementing all of those new laws in the schools, and understanding what they mean exactly and how that fits in our district and how it applies to us has been a lot, working with the administrators on that. One of the things I attended yesterday was a presentation by the State Department of Education on those laws and how they will impact us, as well as the federal laws and how they impact us. And then on May 1st, the legislative roadshow in Moscow, which will go through all of the funding and changes in the rules as well. And my recognition this month would be my 4 building principals. I came in not like a rookie superintendent, in that I worked in the district and I knew the people and I knew what was going on, and so we hit the ground running, and I've come at them with a lot. I think that they have felt like they've been consistently challenged by me. I think there's been times that they've wanted to say, "Alyssa, please," but they didn't. They just kept their nose to the grindstone, and they just kept pushing, and I'm just so proud of them that they've taken these challenges to heart, and they've worked so hard. And I think if you talk to people, you will see that the cultures in the buildings are improving, and they're doing good work, and kids are learning every day, and so that's really powerful. They've improved communications with their staff, they've improved communications with families, and they've raised the bar for students and staff, and our students and staff are raising to meet that challenge. So I really want to commend the principals.
Moving on, principal reports.
But we want to go back to bringing the joy back into education, and you'll notice in my board report, you don't have a staff spotlight in either one, because I've tried to spotlight staff through all of the months that I've been here, and I don't have a staff to spotlight. so we chose to go student and special activity spotlight. So something
Special that happened this last month. Our kindergarten teacher, the kindergarten students were just finishing up a unit on Native Americans, and as well as our 4th grade teacher. And so we coordinated with Roger Ammerman and came in and set up a teepee, as you see there. And the students really were engaged by this activity and special event for all of our students. So as far as our growth, we are seeing growth across the board. It's always easy when you, like Ms. mentioned, it's always very easy to look at the negative, but we are seeing growth in every area of our students and needing. And especially notable is that our kindergarten students, when if you see in the red there, they're starting out below grade level. You can see that trend line is increasing. Those students are moving towards grade level, which is in the green. And then across the board, students that are at where they started, they're all making growth in their levels. We're trying to help those students that are below grade level get up to grade level as quickly as possible. And then just something to celebrate, again, we have been doing that Manpower Hour at CBE. A very special time for the kids. They get to earn that activity hour each month by, you know, being at school, number one, attendance, and then for good behavior and their academic work. So lots of good stuff going on there. At Oak City, again, just lots of fun things. Mrs. Cahill has been really making sure the students are actively engaged and out on the playground and up using the outdoor classroom. They're very investigative. She's seen some very good growth as well, as you noticed in the um, academic growth there. All but one student made their math growth goal in last month, and they're really working, making good gains. So we're seeing gains across the board. Proud of all of our students and our staff.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martinez, building principal, thank you for the opportunity to represent CVHS. I will say that following Melanie is a hard act a little bit in terms of nice, beautiful stuff there, but my staff spotlight I chose this month is Miss Candace Hoskins. She actually is in the crowd with us today here. Candace is a great educator. She's a special education teacher in particular, she manages most all of our special education paraprofessionals here. She is Grangeville High School came on some need for special education services up there with some of their staff and maternity leave and what have you. So we were willing and helping out our colleague at Grangeville High School. So share time with Ms. Hoskins. She's dedicated some of her time not only to our building, but to the students up in Grangeville High School. So that's been a pretty fortunate opportunity for Grangeville, I'd say. It takes from our quality educator down here, but we still are proud to be supporting the Mountain View School District that way. She also drives bus for us, volunteers as the junior high volleyball coach. She's the prom advisor and yearbook advisor. So it is with great gratitude that we have had Miss Hoskins on our team. A little facility update I'd like to speak to in particular. Unfortunate situation, but with a positive outcome. And I'm going to speak to recently in March 22nd, we had 4 of our buses that were the victims of being vandalized. Had some bus windows broke out, $4,000 in estimated damages. However, from the due diligence of our superintendent, Mrs. Martinez and other administrators, board members that work with the local sheriff's department deputies, Doug Homer, we got the SRO grant. So this is one event right here where I can say SRO came through for us because we had a time frame of Thursday after school about 5:15 when the bus parked till Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. That's a long time frame to be watching cameras. And with Michael's camera system over at the middle school area, the SRO did her due diligence and was able to lock in on that key moment in time. So we are seeing fruits of the labor when it comes to SRO. So although it's unfortunate, it was we did identify the perpetrators and just kind of hold them accountable. And so at this point, it's out of our hands. But thank you for the SRO in our building. I'm going to focus on continuous improvement. Mrs. Holthouse talked about changing the culture and culture change here. I've said that to you guys multiple times throughout my board reports. We had a high volume of absenteeism, a high volume of students not going to class in past years. We have been able to, our January daily attendance, average daily attendance is not as high as we would like, but it was 89%, much higher than years past. 85 for February, we saw high rates of illnesses going through the buildings. And then March 88 was 88.4%. So our goal is no less than 90. talk about 166 students, we're literally talking about 11 kids that drops that down there, 12 kids in that ballpark. So most of our kids are coming and going to the classrooms, and that follows up with tardy reports. We started the year with about 17 frequent flyers, we call them, that are frequently not getting to class. We are riding around the 8 average student mark now, so that's a 50% reduction on average day-to-day average. So we feel pretty good that we're increasing and getting them into the classroom and getting them educated the way they need to be. ISAT testing, we will start our ISAT testing here next Tuesday, 7th, 8th, and 11th grades will be tested in English, language arts, math, and science. And that will conclude weekly till May 7th. And so we will once you get them all tested and then add more information on what gains we've made that way. So not the beautiful color charts like Melanie, but I'm looking and we'll get there. Thank you.
Quick question,
Yes, sir.
with respect to the vandalism of the buses, perhaps a question for the superintendent. Are we insisting on restitution for these individuals?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, so,
Oh, it has been?
yes, so the non-students to our school, the group that are associated with them were very, very good to work with. They came in, all 3 individuals came into my office, held themselves accountable, looked me in the eye. But yes, we, when I said we're holding them accountable, that's what I was speaking to, both legally and with restitution. So,
Thank you.
great question. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Well, it's been a minute since I've given you guys a report. I've been hiding, but usually in network closets. It's in the drive. So what we just finished up is a total phone system transition, total overhaul here. So we took our phones off the cloud provider and are now routing through a local PBX. So in the case of internet outages, people in buildings will still be able to make calls to each other and still be able to communicate. It also cut our phone bill almost in half on a monthly basis, saving us multiple thousands of dollars every year. So that was really exciting. Of course, there were a couple hiccups along the way. One kind of funny one is CV High. I accidentally left their, you remember this? Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I left their IVR playing Baby Shark. So I was just testing it, but when people call in, it takes them through a messaging system, and I had left the Baby Shark. Anyways, I heard about it pretty quick. But other than that, the system's been working pretty well. People seem to enjoy it. I appreciate the customizability, and of course, the savings is awesome. So that's been a big project. I'm happy to kind of be wrapping that up. The cybersecurity concern is challenging, but ultimately what I ended up discovering is if I apply through the MS ISAC's portal, they will give a massive discount on CrowdStrike Falcon antivirus, which is one of the best antiviruses out there, discounting it from $190 to $60 per endpoint. So huge savings there. But antivirus still costs a lot, but it's a priority. It's something we need to have in the world we live in. So trying to figure out how to make it make less of a dent in the budget. And so part of that is trying to migrate some of our devices over to Chrome OS, which has its limitations, but it also is much more secure. And all the students are familiar with Chrome. And I'm going to try to make it as smooth as possible. But the long story short is we are making efforts to secure everything significantly more than it has been in the past, and it's coming to fruition. So that's good. Windows 11 is about to take over the world. In October, they're going to decommission updates for all Windows 10 devices. So We were able to secure a grant for desktops from the Idaho Business for Education Association and get 50 desktops that will be rolling out to teachers this summer, hopefully. Well, I'll have to talk to the IT team to see how fast they can get those out.
Right.
So yeah, things are looking good for IT. I'm actually starting to feel good about it after however long. Not that I wasn't feeling good before, but just it's nice to see these really big, important um, uh, infrastructure changes take place. And so my big focus right now is to really continue to build a system that has predictable, consistent budgets every year. I know how much it's going to cost to keep our devices going so that we don't have big surprises and that we know exactly what we're going to need for tech each year. Taking a lot of pressure off the IT team, and also just making it more predictable and easy to budget for. So yeah, that's kind of my report. Any questions for IT?
Just want to point out, the phone system and all the work that Michael has been doing. It's, if deconsolidation moves forward, he's got a plan for that. And if it doesn't, he's got a plan for that. So he's really forward thinking.
Every infrastructure change I've made, I've set it up so that basically I could flip a switch and if go either way. So.
Financial reports.
Right. I'm not going to dive too much into the financial report because I'm following up with a budget workshop. But as always, I just always like to show you guys on our website under financials and under board reports and under this year, that's where it's at. I did have a patron call and ask when it would be uploaded. I always like to upload it right before the board meeting. It's part of the board packet, and I just like to make sure our trustees have it in hand before I upload it to the website in case they have any questions. But so it is there now. Same format, nothing too exciting, not updated. Again, just keeping this part fairly short and sweet because actually I want to keep that up because I'm going to refer back to something. Because I'm gonna just jump into my budget workshop if that's okay. Right. So I focused a lot of what we have going on right now in the 24-25 school year for Mountain View School District, because when I created this, it was before a lot of the items that have come out from the State Department from their legislative session. I did have a Zoom meeting on Tuesday with a whole bunch of other business managers from the state and the state finance department team. And I learned a lot more. So I'll kind of have some extras I can add, but I just wanted to focus on what's going on right now and what we're projected to see next year. So I broke it down by building and I just, we talk all the time about how important our ADA is. That's average daily attendance. And what drives our attendance is obviously our enrollment of the students. If we don't have as many students enrolled, then we're not getting as much ADA. And so unfortunately, that is going to be the trend you see for all but one of our school buildings is that enrollment is projected to go down. So for Clearwater Valley Elementary, I just like to point out what each grade level has as of last week and what I'm projecting for next year. And so obviously kindergartners go to first grade, first to second, second to third, and so on. We have a pretty good average of what the size of kindergarten class comes in. And so that's why we went with 18. In the 117, actually, no, this is a current or no, it's projected. But down below here, our special education students of the 117, about 27 are projected to have special education needs or IEPs. And so that's what all of these numbers drive our staff. So Miss Martinez is a 0.9 principal there because she also covers Elk City. When you see like a 7.5 classroom teacher, 1.25 special education teacher, it's because they cover other aspects in our district. So the 0.5, it happens to be our CV music teacher. She's at the elementary school half the day and the high school half the day. The 0.25 special education teacher is our preschool kindergarten special education teacher, and she's about a quarter at CB and about 3/4 at Grangeville. And then we have our classifieds, that drives again what our Clearwater Valley Elementary building looks like. Then we have Elk City School. It is kind of the lower numbers we've seen in a while, but families move in and out all the time. I'm hoping, I did project one kindergartner coming in. I'm hoping that's the case. I would love to see them get back up into the 10 or 11 range. But again, we see Melanie as the rest of her principal duties at Elk City. They have one full-time classroom teacher and then one para who splits duties between Title I, which is a classroom aide, and she also is very great and helpful as our custodian. She's a very hard worker. So that's Elk City. Grangeville Elementary, our biggest occupied building, has right now 512 students. Their 8th grade class is 71, so that's pretty huge. And so that's what makes a really big impact to our Grangeville Elementary Middle School. Again, because of trends we've seen in the past, that's why I went with the 55 students for kindergarten next year. And again, of those 496 students projected for next year, about 81 of them will have an IEP, and 3 will need a one-on-one para. We also, for both communities, I didn't have this on the CVE one, I just kind of combined it on Grangeville Elementary, but we have 13 kiddos in our preschool or transitional kindergarten. And that's when our teacher goes to other locations to help support their needs. And so whether that's Cornerstone or Head Start, but we do have 13 kiddos going through that. Again, because of all these students, that's what drives our staff at Grangeville Elementary Middle School. Here at Clearwater Valley Junior Senior High, we have 163 currently, again, projected higher senior class going out with a lower 7th grade class coming in. So once again, looking at lower enrollment numbers. And of that 158, approximately 24 will have an IEP. And again, you see that half a teacher for our music teacher. And then finally at Grangeville High School, our one building that's projected to have a higher enrollment, and that is because it's a higher 9th grade class coming in than the 12th grade class going out. But as you see, their current 11th grade class is probably the lowest class I've seen at Grangeville in a while. So that could obviously change throughout the years. But they're expected to have 39 students with IEPs driving the majority, or not the majority, but those students are driving Grangeville High School staff. So that's just kind of what our district looks like right now, and projected enrollment again drives projected average daily attendance. So with enrollment down, we're gonna have to project that our ADA is down. And unfortunately, that means less funding from the state, because ADA gets turned into support units, which is our funding formula. And so while I budgeted for 63 support units this current year, 24-25, we're sitting at 62.5 1.5, I believe, right now. And so I did budget high, and with it being 62 support units right now and our enrollment going down, I'm going to be budgeting for 61 support units next year. And so that will be making a difference.
So 63 to 61.
Yeah. Other departments that support our district as a whole, to keep us functioning are transportation. We have 2 supervisors and 12 bus drivers /route/activities, with a handful of, whether it be teachers or paras or just substitutes that cover other routes. And so we're very thankful for, just a team that's willing to jump in and do those. Obviously you have to have a CDL to drive a bus. And so for those staff members that have that and are willing to take up some extra routes, it means a lot. We contract our food service, so it's not specifically like our employed staff, but I do like to recognize them. We have 1 supervisor and 9 cooks throughout the district. We have contracted special education services. That includes, while we have a speech and language pathologist teacher, she has a lot of caseloads. And so we do need extra help. And so we have a little bit contracted out, along with occupational therapy, physical therapy, and a psychologist. The consent agenda was approved, and therefore I think maybe you'll remember that we just approved a psychologist for our staff next year. I'm very, very excited about that. That's going to be very big to bring in-house. It will actually be a savings. So I think that's really important for our special education services. Then we have our maintenance with 2 district maintenance. They're just our all-around guys who go to every single building to help with whatever is needed. And then what I call 2 facilities maintenance that are directed to locations. So like 1 in CV and 1 in Grangeville, that also supervise our custodians. So we have 9 full-time custodial staff and 2 part-time. And then for district-wide positions, we have our superintendent, HR assistant /payroll, myself, the comptroller, an administrative assistant /accounts payable, our awesome tech director /tech staff, a nurse, our special education /504 coordinator, our federal program /curriculum /assessment /whatever we need done coordinator. And then again, the speech and language pathologist that I mentioned earlier. So we have 1 in district. And then we have currently half a psych parascheduler, but that will be going away with the hiring of our psych. And then 1 SLP/OT para that goes district wide, and our board clerk. So based off of all of those numbers, I kind of combined them into colors. I separate kindergarten in a different color because it drives a different support unit based off of divisors. But so for CV, we have our kindergartners, and then 1 through 6 drives the 99 projected number. And then our junior senior high, Elk City, and then Grangeville's 55 kindergartners, 441 to fill out the rest of the elementary, middle school, and 256 in the high school. So again, overall in Mountain View School District, right now we're at 1050. Next year projected 1035. So a decrease of 15 students. So kind of a bummer. Again, our daily or average daily attendance equals our support units. Our support units create funding through a multitude of ways. Discretionary funding, which is a set rate per unit for our health insurance, a set rate per unit for our discretionary funding, and then also our staff funding. And so per support unit, you get a 0.075 out of an administrator. And for our certified personnel, we get per support unit 1.1 funding purposes, mind you. And for classified, it's 0.375 funded. Funding separately is the transportation department and our food services. And so kind of relating back to the very first part where I was talking about the discretionary funding, we have the 21,901 for healthcare per support unit. So last year we budgeted $63 units, and last year's per unit amount was 20,150. So it's just over 1.2 million. This year, because there is an increase, like the state did increase on that funding, which is nice. But we still have lower support units. So we do have an overall increase, but hypothetically, if our enrollment stayed up and we had good ADA, and if we could have stayed at 63, obviously this increase would be more. I think the biggest bummer, and that is not a professional word, but I'm going with it, is that discretionary is staying the same from the 24-25 funding to 25-26. It's 23,472. So that is showing a decrease for our district because we are going down in support units. So yep, I'm going to stick with the word bummer. This is our current budgeted revenue. And so again, I'm talking a lot about what's going on right now and what we're looking at to just prep you for how we're going to view next year. So currently we have budgeted 24.1% of our general fund from local revenues. That's including our $2.936 million levy. And from state revenues is 75.9%. So like you see this $1.4 million, that relates to here, 1.4 million. You see this 1.2 for health insurance, that relates to this 1.2 million. Again, based off of our support units, it drives our salary apportionment and our benefit apportionment. I'm going to go over other state distributions in a little bit, and then transportation is driven off of a 50% to 85% reimbursement. Again, I'll kind of highlight that in just a bit. But that's kind of what that's that is what it is this year. And next board meeting, I'll start showing you guys what next year is looking like since we have more numbers from the state. Yes, B.
Is this gonna be somewhere?
Yep, I'm going to post it to the website and I will show you where.
Okay, will you go back to the CBA school slide? Okay, so 24. Did you ever estimate what House Bill 291 would have given us for the 1.4 for the high needs kids?
Like
They were gonna give like 15,000 per high need kid. Up to a certain amount.
no, I did not estimate
Okay.
that.
Somebody governor usually you don't thank you very much. That's a very good call. You don't want to count your Christmas money before you get it.
Yeah. We good?
Sorry, yes.
Okay. Okay, so what I was also saying are other state distributions. These are called special distributions, and so they're a lot more flexible. Remediation is driven off of ISAT scores, and so if more students are proficient, then we get more, or less than proficient, we get more money because that means we need more remediation to help prep them for it. I'm budgeting less because ADA is going to be less, enrollment's less. And so that's what's driving that. Our literacy funds for, it comes in two fashions, K-3 enrollment. So that's kindergarten through third grade enrollment, and then testing. And so that's kind of the opposite of remediation. It's like if they stay proficient or go higher, then we get more funding. I don't know. It's, yeah. Again, I'm budgeting less, not because I don't think we won't be proficient, it's because we'll have less enrolled. The math and science, that's one of those that is actually increasing, but that's because it's a flat rate from the state. They basically go, if you're a high school with 0 to 99 students, you get X dollars. If you're a high school with 0 or 100 to 149 students, you get this much. And so our enrollment decrease doesn't bump us down a level. Therefore, the state put more money into math and science, and so that one did increase. College and career advisors are based on our 8th through 12th grade enrollment. And once again, that is down, so it's just slightly decrease. Professional development, that is based off of our certified FTE, and that's full-time equivalent. And that is more because the state appropriated more to that budget, and same with professional development dyslexia. So our certified FTE as of now will stay the same. And so therefore, again, we'll be getting more. This content and curriculum, it looks a little goofy. It used to be every school district got $6,000 and we got to use it as we best see fit. They changed it up where it is now a first come, first serve, and you can apply up to $50,000. Michael and I worked hard. He disappeared. Um, we worked hard on it last year, and the verbiage is digital content and curriculum. And so like we got so stuck on digital, we were very driven with our tech base, and we went more like Microsoft driven, and they came back and basically went, no, you're missing the curriculum part. So that was a big bummer. So Kim, our federal programs curriculum assessment coordinator or director, and I are working hard on it. And so she has a really good program that she's really excited to apply for. It's I didn't go for the full 50 because that's not how much that program is. And it's just a one program you can apply for. It says we can only apply one quote. And so that's why I put $25,000. Our technology funding from the state is based off of current year ADA. Again, because ADA from last year to this year is less, and then next year I'm anticipating less again. That's why the decrease is there. Property tax relief, I know this is a hot one, so I'm just going to really skim over it because I got a lot more to say later on. But it's based off a prior year ADA. So you may be like, well, we've just gone through this whole thing and you said that ADA is going down. So why would you have an increase? The state put more money into it. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We have continuous improvement that is for board trainings. And it's just $6,600, and that hasn't changed. And then we also have safe and drug-free funds. And again, that is driven by our ADA. So again, a little bit of a decrease. So yeah, more red than I would like.
Charlie, can I jump in here?
Please.
Earlier, someone talked about it was stated that that Idaho put X number of dollars more for every student into the budget. And if you take all of the money they put into education divided by all the students in Idaho, that's where that number came from. But that's not how it comes to us. This is the example of how that was, that in my opinion, an oversimplification, because it's driven by ADA and it's driven by these various programs. And so we can't just take the number that the state put into education and divide by the number of students that we have in Idaho and then multiply the number of students we have here in Grangeville. That's not how it works. These numbers and those other formulas that Carly showed on the previous slides, that's why that statement's a little bit, it's deceptive.
And I do apologize, I skipped over transportation at the top. Again, I am projecting an increase, and you might say, why? Because it's based off of prior year's eligible pupil to school costs. And again, if we keep talking about our decrease, but we actually hit our cap reimbursement for transportation every year, and they did put more, they meaning the state, put more money into transportation this year. And so if we hit our cap and they have increased our cap, I am projecting an increase. And so we hit the cap a lot because of our very long bus routes. And so we have, I'm not going to remember the exact word. It's something about our routes and uh not not that it's like all gravel or it's this or that, but we have hardship riders, maybe. Anyways, I apologize, I'm not remembering the exact name, but it allows us to have more funding reimbursed, but we do hit that cap, but the cap will be increased, so I'm projecting that. But I just don't know for sure a number on that, whereas they gave me the formula for all of these numbers over here. So like literacy or college and careers, like $62 per student plus a flat rate. And so I have all those formulas already. Okay, so property tax relief, it's Idaho Code 33911. It's technically called school district facility funds. When it was first introduced, it was House Bill 292. I'm not gonna lie, I still reference 292 a lot, which is improper because every year numbers get used over. And so hypothetically, if you were to Google House Bill 292 now, it might come up with something else. So I should start referring to Idaho Code. But they reference it as property tax relief. And so it is based on our prior year best 28 ADA. So again, very much enrollment and attendance driven. It says it will be sent to school districts the end of August. They did just say, the state said that they will get the number August 31st this year. That happens to be a Sunday. And that Monday happens to be Labor Day. So we actually won't get our funds until September 2nd, but we will get them. So for this current year, because we had a levy, we were able to use these funds to buy down the levy and save some funds from collecting them from our tax patrons. So this year, the 24-25 school year, we had the 2.9 mil or $936 million levy, and we received $586,106 from the school district facility funds. Therefore, when we submitted our L2 to the county, we were just going to collect the $2.3 million in taxes. More funds have been distributed to it from the state. And so I am anticipating it being closer to 700,000 this year. So therefore, what will be collected from the patrons is closer to $2.2 million.
So this is also misunderstood quite often in the community, that many people in the community think that this is money on top of. So you got the levy plus you got this money. That's not at all what happens. That money comes to us and then it drives the levy, the amount that's taken.
Again, why it's known as the property tax relief. It's helping our patrons while, and that's why we had to emphasize so much that on the ballot and every time we talked about the levy, we still had to reference the 2.936 million, because you can't start down and add to it. You start and then it gets subtracted out. And then I'm ending with our school modernization funds, another fairly hot topic. We have, yes, Mr.
Can you
Dunn.
go back?
Yes,
The eliminated March election dates for schools, how is that? This particular,
it was part of the bill.
that's all it is to it.
Yeah, yeah.
What particular election are they in?
In March, 2 years ago, we were able, if we wanted to, run a levy. We can't now.
So then there wouldn't be.
It would either be November or May.
So we went 3-2, that's all.
Is
And actually,
August still an
I went
option?
before,
Yeah.
and now it's down.
Okay, yeah, they eliminated August as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So school modernization funds, so we chose as a district to get the one lump sum payment. And we did get that. We got 80% in October and the remaining 20% in February for a total of $4,421,880.21. It is in its own fund. It is not just in the pot. It is calculated in its own fund, earning its own interest. And every time we have used it, we use our financial program to make sure that we have a big long accounting number. I'll show you in a little bit. That part of that accounting number dictates what building is using it. So 401 means CVHS, 403 is GHS, 601 is CVE, 602 is GEMS, and 603 is Elk City. So like it is being very tracked on what is getting spent and how much and where and why and all that good stuff. Because again, these funds are not just for whatever we please. It's to support facility improvement or expansion. And so that's HVAC, that is some technology, not all. Like our phone system went through it. And so, but we can't pay for wages. We can use the interest to pay for wages to support facility, but we can't use the original funds. What I did just learn on Tuesday was that an additional $86.5 million in sales for the bonds is available for distribution, and we should get it by the end of April. And so it is also based on ADA. And so based off of the calculations, I'm hoping for another 300,000. I will report that in May's board meeting.
So
But
of the 86.5 million, we're hoping for an additional 300,000 for Mountain View schools.
correct. Yeah, because the original of where we got the $4.4 million was from the $1 million in bonds, and $1 billion in bond sales, and they just happened to sell 86.5 more million. Yes.
Does that 300,000 go into a general fund, or does it have to go towards building?
It goes into this fund, the 436 fund. And so same stipulation goes to facility improvement or expansion, and will still be broken out appropriately per building. So following that up, I thought it would be a good time to talk about how I look at these modernization funds when it comes through our financial program. And so, oopsie, where'd it go? Oop, there it is. Okay. This is what one of my reports from our Skyward Financial Program looks like. And so you can see right here, it's Fund 436. So that's its own specific fund for school modernization. You can see the earnings year to date is 54,830.47. So again, the earnings are separate. And you see the state revenue, that $4.4 million number I referenced. Down below, you can see all the funds we've spent so far. So far this year, we've spent 116. And so this over here are the account numbers I was referencing. So it's this second to last set of 3 digits that we want to focus in on. 401 again, CVHS, 403 GHS, 602 GEMS. And so on, you might see 000 and get nervous, but that was just my budget number. No expenses have gone through that. This is maybe not the prettiest report, and it doesn't break it out necessarily like per our building like I would want. So I made this spreadsheet. So we've received again the $4.4 million from the state. You see my 80% number from October plus my 20% number to find rounded out in February. The bill or the Idaho code referenced that it should be spent over 10 years. If we take the lump sum, they want us to use it for the next 10 years and not, we could use it as a lump sum or like all at once if we were another building, because that would take a lot, but we're not. So I just divided it by 10. And so in my brain, I'm like, okay, let's spend 442,000 a year. I'm not saying we need to, because there might be a year that we need to spend more. So I'm tracking it. I started by building on this one. And these are some of my notes, but then I moved it to the proposed districts because I thought that might be a good reference to just see how it would look. And so again, there's the 116 total that we've spent year to date. And if you were to take this 442,000 minus the 116, you get this 325,000 that we have left to either utilize. We don't anticipate utilizing that for the remainder of the year. We kind of estimated maybe another 110,000 to finish up our summer projects. And then so the remainder amount will just carry to the next year. And so you can kind of see that here, like for the 25-26 school year, we don't have any expenses because we're not there yet. And so this number references the 442,000 allocated potentially for the year, plus the remainder from the beginning of the year. And you just keep going down. And that's what you see. But down here shows how much has been spent to date per each new proposed district. This one is the CV proposed district, and this is the Greenville proposed district. Because we received the funds based off of our 23-24 ADA, I allocated it per proposed school district also on the 23-24 ADA. And so of that year, the proposed CV district had 296 and the proposed Grangeville had 745. And so those percentages, they look familiar, don't they? Went into what each proposed district would be allocated. And so again, this isn't including the additional amount we'll receive at the end of the month. I'll update my spreadsheet with that. But I had heard a few questions from patrons, and I really wanted to outline that of what it would look like and what each proposed district would receive. And just, as always, reassure board members and community members that we're tracking how it's getting spent, to just make sure that we're doing our due diligence. But if I go back to this, that kind of wraps it up, but any questions, thoughts?
Word on SRS funds?
I heard a rumor, but nothing from the state, so I'm gonna just not comment and just keep crossing my fingers.
Gotcha. Good idea.
I heard a really nice rumor yesterday that we put Bill back there. No.
Yeah. It's not bad.
At this point, it's the.
Which is a bummer.
It is.
Bummer is apparently my word of the day.
Thank you.
And could I just jump in here to say, probably the best part of this whole year is when I get to listen to Carly get into her spreadsheet world, and she's got a monitor that's like this wide and spreadsheets that go completely across it, and it's kind of fun. I'm just gonna say.
She's just saw me staring at one spreadsheet for
all day today. It was the same spreadsheet.
Yeah, it was probably 5 hours today, so yeah.
Can you do you have a number on like how much we're spending out of our local dollars for special education costs that aren't covered by the state?
Yes.
It was like 250,000 last year.
Wait, what'd you just say?
Wasn't it?
Maybe for contracted services.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Was it?
If we include all of our, well, okay, I'd have to take.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys talk. I'll
Okay.
come up with something.
Can we move on to business?
Yeah. I think
You
so.
can interject later, that'd be fine. Yep. Moving on to business, approval of out-of-state travel. Do we need to talk about that, or?
Well, no, as I explained earlier this year, it is important that the board takes action on any time our students travel out of state because we're crossing state lines with minors. And so we have two of them coming up. Levi Stone is the CTE teacher at Grangeville. He wants to go to career and college at Western Welding Academy on May 2nd through the 5th. And then the choir from Grangeville High School are wishing to attend River Dance in Spokane, Washington on May 29th. So those are fundraised monies. It's not district money. It is just permission to take students across state lines.
I move that we approve the out-of-state travel. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of senior project.
Mr. Martinez, will you introduce your?
Sure. Board members, Superintendent House, and members of the audience. We have a couple of current juniors here, looking forward to their senior year. On what I would call the left here is Braden Taro and Mr. Tristan Hill.
I have a few pictures and some papers with the description if I can pass these out. Um, they're just a couple pictures of our current nature area and the form. And some information if you'd like. Yeah. This is our current nature area. So our senior project would be landscaping in the western side of the nature area. And the area we're wanting to landscape is very overpopulated with vegetation. It has a lot of blackberry bushes. And, I learned that 3 days ago, it is also very populated with something called poison hemlock. And some nasty stuff. If you don't know what it is, it's much like poison ivy or poison oak. And I had no idea what it was or what it looked like until 3 days ago. Yeah, I'm able. You may be asking yourself, well, if this has been like this for quite a long time, then why hasn't anybody else gotten rid of it? Well, it's a pain because the seeds that it produces drop right in the middle of summer. So whenever a senior project goes around, then they get to start to do it, all the seeds drop immediately. And pretty much at the end of June, middle of July. So we were wanting to get rid of it and before it starts to reproduce. And you can't burn it because it's too green at this time of year. So we need to chop it and then move it to our local burn pile at the corner of the property. And then after a couple months, we can burn it, dies. And taking care of all this dangerous vegetation will make this school a safe place for our students and staff. Initially, when Braden and I were looking for a senior project idea, we wanted to do something that will have a positive impact on our school. We didn't want to just have a senior project that we just like do and we forget about it in a couple of years. Nobody really knows that. This project will have positive impact, and I feel that students will enjoy it more than if I were to do cleaning the hive.
Good idea.
So our current nature area is in the corner of our school property over there, which at the time it was 3 logs on their side, where teachers may take their kids out, students to go read. And with this senior project, us doing groundwork on that property over or property, we want to hopefully turn it into a better nature area where teachers would be more inclined to do academic activities, take their students to read. We hope that we can get donations to build some wooden benches out there, for students to go sit. Yeah. And to complete this project, we will need to talk to, I think his name is Justin Brinkerhoff. And he has machines that will be helpful with bulldozing, moving all the stuff that would take us weeks to do by hand in a matter of days. We will need a chainsaw, which me and Braden will provide. We will also need basic yard tools like loopers, a spade, pruning saws, and a hoe, and other basic tools that we will talk to Evan about using some of the school's yard tools, and if we're not allowed to use them, then I will provide them from my work. We do not need the accelerant for the fires because a lot of the stuff before I saw all this stuff on the bottom, it's really dead. It's been there for a long time. So it should be fine to burn. And my mentor is Marty Mitzkis. He works for the Idaho Forest Department. And he's been doing controlled fires for a very, very long time, 38 years. And he said that he will help, and he has drip torch, which will be very handy in doing controlled fires in the area. If we asked, if we could have this approved by the board. Questions?
So you're asking permission to take pride in your school?
Do you mind if I'm in so? Never have to ask to take pride in our school to answer that question. Board policy is any time that the physical landscape is manipulated in any way that students, staff, administration, that we seek board approval. And so their talk with machinery work and actually physically changing the landscape. So the changes that they've described to me are good, positive changes. If in some of the area, I don't know if the pictures do it total due justice, but some of it is pretty rolling, and their concept is to flatten it out in some areas and move dirt around as well. And so that when they came to me with this project, I was very excited. 'Cause as a former football player here at this high school, that is where we used to go and have pregame talks and get the bugs out before the games. And so they brought it to the academic side as well. So it is highly overgrown over there now and not useful per se for positive stuff. Sometimes we find kids over there doing things, that aren't so positive. So when they came to me with the idea, I was like, ooh, that would make it easier for us to see in there as well from an administration standpoint. So that really is the request. When they came to me, I said, ooh, you guys need to speak with your board on that because it in all technicality would be manipulating the physical landscape.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this project. Second.
Discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Jeff? You?
Should be. Yeah, it'd be
Okay.
590,000.
Before and after.
I'm sorry, I should have.
Approval of surplus items.
In your board packet, you have
a list of items that are surplus as well as items that have been determined, that is no value determination. And at this point, I want to give a huge kudos to Michael again, because I don't know if in your homes you have a printer, a computer, a monitor, a box full of cords, whatever that just stacks up because you don't know what to do with them and you get a new computer. He's doing a great job of identifying the ones that have a value and getting those on the surplus, and identifying those that don't have value and developing a plan for getting rid of them. So those are the items you see before you today.
Motion? Any questions?
I move that we approve the surplus items.
Second?
Yeah.
By Myers? All in favor?
Aye.
Superintendent contract, 5.6. Just information here. I guess I'm going to speak on behalf of the board, so correct me if I'm wrong. We interviewed 3 candidates. We are still waiting on the state to get back as far as the credentials of those applicants, because that will determine whether we're paid, the state will pay for their contracts or not. In discussion, we'd like to wait or give the state one more week to get back to us to see if our candidates have the credentials so we can be covered. Otherwise, it would come out of our pocket, well, the taxpayers' pocket. We just have to, it would come out of the property owner's pocket. So anyway, we are tabling this decision for one more week. Oh, we need a motion for that. We can do that for an additional week.
And that date for the,
it would be next Thursday, the 24th, right?
24.
Yeah.
5 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
We'll have an executive session.
So, okay. But isn't the meeting 5 to 5:30?
So your public meeting is 5 to 5:30. You'll have executive session 5:30 to 6.
Got it.
Open session at 6.
Thank you.
But I need a motion.
You have a motion.
I move that we table the superintendent contract for 25-26 to next Thursday at 6 p.m.
Second, April 24th.
April 24th.
Can you please tell them when's that?
It's at the Grangeville High School Library.
And we have a second. Do we have a second?
Larry
Second. Larry none. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 2025 negotiations. That would be with the teachers union. Setting possible dates and times and have some trustee representatives. I would actually like to be a part of this process this time around.
as well.
Okay.
It's 2.
Any discussions?
So I have
Do we need-
Chairman Farrington and Vice Chairman Dunn.
Okay. Do we need nominees or we just volunteer? Is that fine?
They're just volunteers.
Okay. Set possible dates and times. Anything there? Gosh, give me some insight. Do we need to talk to you? Do you have any comments or anything, or what? I guess we'll just be talking of like possible dates. This is my first go around, so
Yes.
tell me when to show up. Is it usually done in the evenings, or is it done during the middle of the day?
It's usually done in the evenings when we've done it in the past, so,
Okay.
just for sake of your work schedules, our work schedules, we don't want subs in the building and paying subs for that kind of thing, so.
Okay, and we can do this at any time? Like next week? What are we
You could
looking at?
start next week. You won't be able to finish. It'll probably take a few meetings.
Okay, and these
Just
are,
not on Wednesday, 'cause I have to
okay.
You drive a bus now?
No, I have to drive to Boise.
Oh, I was like, what don't you do? All of you guys, triple
Well,
jobs.
let's
recommend maybe the 22nd for the first meeting?
That would be Tuesday, the 22nd?
Tuesday, the 22nd? How about Thursday, the 24th?
Yeah, that's our
Oh,
meeting.
let's do it then.
Oh, we can do it at the end?
We could do it.
I can't do it before.
We-
I can do it at the end. I gotta work.
So 6:30 to 8?
6:30.
6:30 after our decision, that would be fine. 6:30, Thursday, after the meeting? All right.
Typically 8 p.m.
Yeah, 6:30 to 8.
That'll be just a
Oh, I
busy
got
night.
it. Sorry. 6:30. Okay. Is that all we need? Any further comments?
Grangeville High School, the other.
We're good?
We can go across.
Let's do it the district office, because maybe people make their own stuff. Let's do it. If you're okay with that, let's do that.
So you're gonna be done with your special meeting by 6:30.
We should be.
It's just
Really,
one issue, right?
One issue, and we just talk, yeah, we should.
No, actually, you should only need.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Trustee assessments. I was inspired actually by what you just went through, Mr. Martinez. We as a board are in the business of assessing everybody and everything, and critiquing everybody and everything, but we don't assess ourselves on anything. So, I would like to have. I'm just suggesting this, and this is to you for you guys to decide. So we actually have a self-assessment, and then we have a mutual assessment where we assess each other. So we see if there's a disconnect. Because I might be thinking I'm doing well in an area, and I might be totally off, and I think we need to know that. So that's what I'm proposing, that we create some sort of assessment where we can assess ourselves and assess each other. And I don't know if we need to bring someone else beyond just ourselves into that assessment, so we can just determine if there's a disconnect. And hopefully we're right on like Mr. Martinez was, but maybe we're off and we need to know those things.
So are you proposing a policy or?
I'm proposing a policy, but I think this would probably need to go to the policy committee to develop the questions. We contacted the ISBA to see if there was any sort of thing already laid out. They sent us some examples. That's what I had put forward to us. What do you guys think? I obviously don't like the idea of having to assess myself all the time or people assessing, because it's awkward, but it might be good to make sure the plank's out of our eyes before we go assessing everybody else. That's what I'm proposing. So, discussion. Or a motion, discussion, whatever.
I don't have a problem with it. I liked the first one you sent the other day.
What's that?
The assessment. I like
Okay.
the example of the assessment. In
I
fact,
think-
I filled it out and I sent it to Tracy, actually.
Oh,
Bonus
you did
point.
yourself?
Yeah, I did my
thought
job.
you were talking
I'm
about
sorry.
the superintendent even.
First
Okay.
time ever, I did my job.
Okay.
Overachiever.
Yeah. But I do feel like there could be a disconnect between the board if we all start evaluating each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It could cause some division for sure.
I think personal reflection is good. I
Okay.
think everybody can benefit from personal reflection.
Okay.
I think doing it ourselves, I think we do need to kind of check ourselves and make sure that we're following our goals and our duties as board members. I think it would be nice to add this to where the ethics statement and the deliverables for, like what Larry created about the board. Larry,
The duties, I think it's. on-
thank you, yes.
Should we send this to the policy committee and let them discuss this?
Well,
Of how we should assess
I think we need to draft a policy and then have them fill it in as opposed to doing it the other way around.
do we need to make it official, or could it just be something that we include in there that we should probably visit like twice a year?
Maybe during
Yeah,
workshops.
let's see, we need to
Like,
know that too.
I don't
Is
think it
is
needs
a
to
monthly
be.
thing, is it a quarterly thing?
Not
Is it
monthly,
a
for sure.
biannually thing, whatever. We'd have to determine that.
It could be just a scheduled agenda item.
Just-
So like you could say, it's always on our January, March, August, and whatever, quarterly, whatever you want. You could set it just as a general agenda item.
Okay.
Do you think it needs to be policy? I don't think
Well, I'm
it.
just saying in terms of, well, consistency, if nothing else, do the same thing every time, otherwise
Yeah.
the results lose their validity. You know, also you can't track changes. If
Well-
you change the methodology, then it's hard to track the changes, good or bad.
What are you gonna change though?
Things change. I had no idea of getting up to my elbows in policy when I started this job, right?
I
But
mean,
I
like,
saw the need
I
and I stepped up
understand
and
the
did it.
need for the
Yeah.
assessment.
I don't even
But
think anyone
I-
needs to, I mean, like, I just think we need to do it, like, twice a year, and it's really, we're not getting graded on it, it's just something for us to look at.
To look at.
Could we do this during like our workshops?
There, at this point in time, there's nothing to hold us accountable to anything, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for the
I like
people.
self-assessment.
Well, yeah, but say it's a 4-year term, and we only plan to be around for 4 years, you can raise
I mean, you can't
all
get
kinds of
fired
chaos
for
and
this
then just
position.
move on your way, and there is no
Yeah, we've seen it.
accountability
I've dreamed
whatsoever.
about it.
I think it would be an interesting thing to have the public provide an assessment of the board.
I don't think
Sure.
you want that.
But maybe not, but again, maybe that's something we do need.
I don't
And
think
not
you like
any
it.
individuals, but as a general, as a group.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that kind of
Yeah.
underscores my hesitation for this. Well, because ultimately, besides being respectful of each other and all that nonsense, these are the people we're accountable
Yeah.
to. And answer, actually, if you screw up enough, you can get recalled.
It's never fun
So-
being critiqued, I will say
not
that.
really, it takes
So
an
I'm
act
just-
of
I have
Congress
mixed
to get
feelings about it.
recalled.
I'd like to see somebody put something in writing.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't develop a policy, that's fine, but I'd like to see something a little more,
Well,
more substantive.
When I go down in November to the ISBA conferences, they go through this.
Mhm.
They ask you to check your,
I don't want
I think that was the one I
necessarily
liked.
even how the boards, some of this is generic stuff, just the board, I want it to be
Like personal?
personal, individual,
sure.
which is odd. That's
I
what
mean,
it
I don't really care. They knew what they were electing.
You sure?
So
That's true,
I
it's
know,
one of those things.
I know
Oh.
the district, I know they do an IE score, so they have a rubric, and they ask the trustees to go through and give every item an I score, meaning how I do on this, and then a we score. So it's an IE for every one of those items. They are turned into the board clerk, and there are not names on them, the board clerk in that district is a female. She collects the 5 of them, and she just gives the board the next month after this. I think they do it twice a year. The following month, then they get your average I score on this statement was 3.7, which like, oh, you all feel like you're doing really well. And then your average we score was only 2.5. So that actually has an indication of trust. Like, I believe I'm doing my job. I don't think the others are doing their job. So that that's a trust issue. And so then that becomes a conversation. So I think they do it twice a year. I can reach out to them and find out how often they do it. They do it twice a year, and at one meeting, the next meeting, they discuss their IOEs, and then they don't do it again for 6 months, and then evaluate IOEs and talk about them at the next
That
meeting.
kind of sounds pretty cool, actually.
That's
So,
reasonable.
like,
It's pretty simple.
Right, well, and people, when they're anonymous, that's how come Facebook has gotten to be what it is. When people are anonymous, they hopefully will tend to be a bit more honest in this environment, let me qualify that.
So the way we evaluate your position, we grade you, and you grade you too, don't you?
Well, my responsibility according to the state is to write goals, which are those 3 goals that I report on each year, and then to provide you with academic data. And so then those three things together is what makes my evaluation. Self-assessment is important though, I agree. That's one of the most important things about successful teaching is evaluating your teaching at the end of the day and using that to drive your teaching the next day.
Not to disagree, but the elements of that assessment are is where the value lies. If, I don't know, let's say we're all candy shop owners in the town, and there's nobody ever going to talk you out of fudge as being the best candy in the world.
Probably not.
Yeah, see, so where your values lie for any given subject across the board, I think I'm not a diversity is our strength kind of guy, but in this case, I think that is a fact in a body like this. So, for example, I look to B for financial information. Okay, that's one thing. I look to Lacey for the down and dirty of what's going on the opposite side of the world from where I live, which is this Clearwater Valley. So we all bring different things, and I don't want the parameters that we may draw up to be arbitrary for the purpose of saying we're self-reporting. You know, I think they ought to have some value. I don't really know how you do that because it's all different. We're all different. We came to this with different motives. We came to this with a different orientation as to what we'd like to get accomplished. And those aren't, I guarantee you, they're not the same thing between the five of us.
So I believe the evaluation tool that you have from ISBA is based on last name Colton's book, Moving in Time. I think, I might be quoting that wrong. And so whichever book they used to set it on, they use those criteria from that to make sure that you were reflective of your community, that you were making good financial decisions, that you were meeting, we're hiring good teachers, that kind of stuff.
Well, if we want to spend the time on figuring out logically what parameters make sense for us to be evaluating ourselves for, then I'm all for it. I'm not going to, I don't know where we begin. I don't know if we've all got time for that.
Yeah.
That's very time consuming. I'm not sure.
I think
I like your idea, by the way.
Like some of these, oh, sorry.
Oh, we're good.
Some of these are actually pretty good questions.
Yeah, I like it.
Like the first part, I mean,
Here.
some of it gets into some later ones, but like, keeps the education and welfare of students as their primary concern. Is open and honest with each other as well as administrators, and is able to maintain an attitude of mutual trust and respect. I mean, say I'm thinking I'm very good in that, and you four think I need to improve. Shouldn't I need to know that?
Will you improve?
Probably not, but should I not know that?
I'm kidding. But now it's out in the air. There it is.
But now it's out in the air.
Yeah, okay.
Is concerned about achieving a result rather than giving a good appearance? I mean, these are kind of probing questions. What is it? I don't know.
Whatever
Do we do anything from here?
I think we do something. I just think we have some bigger issues in the next month that we really need to, so
Good point.
do you feel like tabling this until like June or?
Even July or August.
Well, we also have the yeah.
Might as well just table it till next year.
I mean, we can keep tabling it. I would rather have an independent source like the policy committee go through these questions and think what they think is pertinent to us, pick those
Sure.
out, and present that to us.
Sure, I think that's great.
Would that be okay with you guys?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
I move that we send the trustee assessments to the policy committee to make them more personal.
Just to the policy committee.
Thank you.
Can we, if I can amend, can we have some assessment, or what are these called? Assessment sheets from jurisdictions other than Idaho? In other words, something other than the ISBA's perspective on things?
Yeah, if you want to
Just
put
for-
something
if we
else
can-
out there or find
I'm sure
something
there
else.
are, you know, I'm sure there are such things.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can dig up. So I will say 3. 3's fair. It's not too many.
If you want to find the other two, if you don't, would that be okay?
Yeah, I can, piece of cake.
Do we have a second on that motion?
On the amendment?
And the amendment?
Well, we have the amendment
Amendment,
first.
gotta go for
The
it.
amendment.
There was no second, so there's no amendment.
What?
Well, he
Nobody
made
sec-
the motion.
nobody
We have
seconded
no
it.
second.
I just seconded that.
So I just
John
put it
seconded
all
it.
together.
We just put it all in one motion.
Thank you.
Could you repeat that motion?
I move that we move the trustee assessments to the policy committee
We have 3 more.
With the addition of?
with the addition of
2 more.
2 more for that Larry will send.
Sounds good. We have a second?
Okay.
2 other jurisdictions.
I'll
Second by Mr. Minot. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Approval of policies,
Bad idea.
series 1000. Okay. Let's get to that. I'll actually need to go to it anyway.
While we're pausing a minute, just by way of orientation to 1500, the first item, this is just an updating. Under regular meetings, you'll see what I mean. Then,
You put it all in red?
yeah, it's all in red. That's all this is an updating and a clarification. No dramatic changes.
Are you doing separate
Yes. Policy 1500.
I move that we accept policy 1500 with the changes reflected in red.
I'll second it. Me.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Policy number 1500P1.
Same, sorry, trustee Dunn. you
No,
want-
quite all right. It's pretty much the same thing, just tweaking it a little bit, nothing dramatic. I'm trying to remember, we talked about this at the policy committee meeting. Part of this was pending money language, I think, was about the presentation part, right? You're gonna bring something back to the policy committee on that. So on the, with respect to the presentation part, which is a different type of a public input than the 3-minute comments and dialogue section of the presentation, is like when we had Mr. Silvera come up and talk to us about the levy, something separate. So if you're okay with the language that's there, I'm talking about item 1D. If you're okay with the language that is there, and understanding that we're going to be coming back with a different presentation procedure that we don't have ready right now. And other than that, I think it's all just a clarification document.
Yeah, the only thing is number 12, it has 2 ands, even with the edit, so you'll just need to,
Number
it's not a big
12.
deal.
Where are we at, number 12?
In the header, it's not a big deal, but there'll be 2 ands if you don't.
Well, I just noticed
Accept
number
that.
12 on page 5, the
Mhm.
second, the organization of the items is A, I, B, C. Do we
Oh, yeah,
probably-
we'll have to fix that
we
too.
probably want to fix that.
So we'll have to fix those 2 things.
Yeah.
With those corrections, we'd like
What
to
does
vote.
LEA?
I move that we accept
Legal education, no.
draft policy 1500
Local
P1
Education Association.
as reflected by the amendments in red,
As corrected.
as corrected.
Can we get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John.
John, me.
Okay, moving on to policy 1500P3.
3 or 2?
2.
Oh, P2, sorry.
Okay, so under P2, this is, I'm not sure, I don't remember why this is lagging, except that, I don't remember why this wasn't with the other. But anyway, basically, it's just general board operations utilizing Robert's Rules of Order. That's all this is, and we looked at this before. So I would motion that we accept or adopt policy 1500P2, which is actually a new document. that
I'll
attaches
second
to
it.
1500.
I'm so glad you did this, because when I first came here, I had no
Oh, yeah.
idea. And then
Amen.
until Tracy came, I still had no idea, but
Discussion? All in favor?
I,
Now, policy number 1800P3.
1601, more of the same type of thing. I will ask, because somehow okay, I'm looking at item number 3, the red part. We had an interesting discussion. I originally had the word obliged. I mean,
yeah, right?
I'm not, how did we agree that should read?
1601 or 1500P2?
1601
You missed
We're
1500
P3.
P3.
Yeah, we're on common
It's
motion.
your chart.
Oh, the charts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, fine. Make a motion that we accept 1500P3 as reflected in the attachment to 1500P3.
This is really
I'll
nice.
second that.
Now, I will mention, and we talked about this at the policy meeting, this adds something that's common in board meetings that use Robert's rules that we don't do here. So if we're going to agree to this, then I think we ought to do it, which is a motion to adjourn. Somebody just makes a motion.
I move to adjourn.
A second, and then we adjourn. And what all this is to just kind of be if you don't mind me interpreting it, it's just a clarification and a verification by the chair that, okay, we're good to go, everybody done, then you move on.
And you've been good about that. In previous years, it was hard. Somebody would just adjourn and there might be some more
Yeah.
discussion, so.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for picking that up. Okay,
Policy 1601, we've got,
back to my question to the superintendent on paragraph number 3, the red. How did we end up?
We, from the oath of office or whatever, the other policy is 1600.
Yeah.
From policy 1600, we use that statement from 1600 so that it matched, so that the code of ethics and the duties of the trustees have matching terminology. So that sentence, each member is committed to attend all regular.
We need to add ED.
You're right, that's kind of why.
It just says commit.
Committed.
Okay, okay. Other than that, this is a consolidation, if we will, of the ISBA's, what they refer to as a ethics statement, which we generally agree is more of a duties statement, so that's what we're doing with this. On item number K, I think we need to add the board clerk as the people who need, as a functionary of the board, who need an annual evaluation. I missed that.
And K also, it says evaluation the superintendent, so we need to evaluate the superintendent.
Yeah, we need to fix that.
So we need to change that.
And then add a L, and then that would be board clerk.
You don't have the L,
Evaluate board clerk.
not make it part of K.
Oh, just make it part of K?
Can we just
Yeah,
say
I think
evaluate
that's-
in writing?
Board clerk.
Yeah.
And then the policy committee thought it'd be a good idea if we signed off on this, so there we are.
And Carly made nice copies of really cool paper for you, once you have approved it. And she went back and did 1600 as well, so that we can
I
post
actually
those.
didn't realize this one had signatures, so I'll get you, I can have
Oh, I thought you
1600.
did both, I'm sorry.
We just approved it. It's
Oh,
fine.
we need
I
to change
should
the
just
language
keep
anyway.
it.
so-
So
You're
it's gonna
fine.
We
be
need to clean up,
better.
yeah, we need to clean up that.
Okay,
We do anyway.
I motion that we adopt 1601 as written with the changes as discussed today.
Second.
all in favor?
No.
Aye. No. Okay. One.
Would you like to discuss one?
I would.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Number 5, Larry, I think,
Five.
I'm still in 1601, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have had a little more discussion before I put it to vote.
Number 5. Can we scratch that one?
A majority of the board may excuse a trustee's absence from a meeting if requested to do so. Would we ever be requested to do so?
We have not. I'm trying to remember where I got that.
We have to get approval to leave.
I mean, I just think like,
Yeah.
I mean, stuff comes up, I don't,
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
get
you
it.
know.
But again,
like
yeah.
maybe we could just
Is it
scratch
even
that
a
one?
necessity? Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I
Do we even
agree.
need it?
Yeah.
Do we even need it?
I don't know why we had it in there.
Where it comes from is on some board members, you're required to attend 80% of all meetings.
Right.
And then if somebody had extenuating circumstances and they couldn't make 80%, then they're supposed to step down. Or the board can approve the fact that they have extenuating circumstances, this is a
Oh,
long
I see.
time, and so then that.
Oh,
So
okay.
the intent is the board recognizing that sometimes trustees have extenuating
Either that or I know board members drunk down
I
at the
like-
bar down here. I mean,
I like your idea though, because I don't wanna have to excuse every, like make a motion and all that stuff
Yeah.
every time you do this, so I'd rather just not be there.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, any other discussion?
My only thought on that too, though, is if you wind up that, okay, more than 3 of us can't be at that meeting that night, might be a good idea to change the meeting.
Yeah,
Which we'd have to do.
which we'd have to do
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
So
so just scratch it.
that's what I prefer, but that's. but
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Alyssa, is there anything, Mrs. Holthouse, is there anything that makes us have to have it in there? Okay.
No, we don't have it. All right, so we're gonna scratch number 5 altogether and change the numbering. 6 becomes 5, and I think that's, okay.
New motion.
No,
Oh, we have a motion.
You just had discussion. so you just-
Discussion.
Just one.
You would like an amendment? Oh, call for a vote. All
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, all right.
Good job.
This one is.
Okay, 2520P, I want to say this is either 5 or 6 times, this has been going around. It's been previously approved, except that we needed to update item 1BI, which just specified that we're not throwing names out of a hat. We will have a process to select curriculum adoption committee members. That's what that's about. So on that note, I would move to adopt 2520P with the amended language as reflected in red on the document.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And
Okay, it looks like these are all our questions. That's what the red is, all the questions we're going to be including. And then we are basically adopting kind of the formatting and much of the language from, was it Camei? Yeah, good. I think we did a really nice job with that. So, give me a minute to look over it, but I will make a motion that we adopt 2520F is in Frank, as reflected in our board packet document.
Did you run these through the lawyer to make sure we're okay with them, with the questions? Okay.
do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry, John had
No,
it.
you do it. You got it.
Okay.
Discussion? No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, I will mention that we have one document we're cutting some information on, and that's the actual procedure itself. One page that says how we do the scoring and all that nonsense. So that's still pending on this policy, but we're getting there.
Okay,
That'll shut up.
on to informational items. Open meeting law letter.
Okay, so that's just a letter from Kathy Ackerman. I believe that she was likely directed by the state to remind everybody about open meeting law and the fact that the highway district did it too.
Yeah. And another one today.
Oh.
Iterating, explaining it a little bit better.
Right, and there were changes made
yeah.
To the law that will go into effect July 1st.
So it's just because I talked to Kathy about it actually, and she said it was just a friendly reminder because of some things that came up. So, there was.
Why our prosecutor telling on us.
Moving on to LifeWise Academy, informational items. Would you like to fill in the blanks for us?
Yeah, sure. So LifeWise Academy is a pre-arranged release time program. So if you haven't heard of a release time program, that's something that's happening all over the country. LifeWise specifically is operating in 40 different states in school districts. And basically how it works, to your first question, is it is a release time. So students are released from school, monitored by LifeWise, taken to a place off campus, because you can't do religious education of any kind on campus. But according to the Supreme Court, you can do it on a location off campus. So it's basically an opportunity for students, and their parents have to sign as well. So it's an opportunity. There's no way to force a student to do this. Both parents and the student have to want to, and the student has the opportunity to leave campus under the supervision of the LifeWise program and their liability and everything, and participate in Bible education, and then go back to school, if that makes sense. So pretty typical release time, and Alyssa's more familiar with the system than me, but.
So it's a unique program that's uniquely available to Grangeville Elementary Middle School because our electives are ungraded elective, which means it's not counted as a seat time. And so, so at the elementary school, so when they go to PE, when they go to art, and so if it would not change Grangeville Elementary Middle School's scheduling. They would schedule as they typically schedule. No changing. I think that we gave the principal there a heart attack because she's like, I have all of that to figure into this because it's complex to get the schedules down. And no, LifeWise would be required to create their own schedule and provide their own people at the appropriate times that does not impact Grangeville Elementary Middle School. So if third grade goes to PE at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they would have to have somebody available at from 2 to 2:30 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to have those kids leave. They wouldn't go to PE. They'd go to this LifeWise, and it would be a parent's signature to do that.
So, oh, go ahead, sorry.
That's all right. For now, gyms, not the high school.
So currently, there's just a steering committee that exists, who has recently presented an offer to a director. Once a director has been selected and hired, the director will interface with school administrators on where the most appropriate location would be off campus. The Grangeville Elementary Middle School there's a church just
The Christian church.
Right next door.
Yeah, to 20 yards. It's not actually, it's like 5 feet away.
It's the other side of the fence.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So logistically, it would make sense that the program would start at the elementary school, just because of the simplicity for the director getting it started. But I don't have any authority. The director would work with the administrators.
I just worry not being able to offer it at CV as well.
Yeah, good.
Is there something down here close by?
Well, just a point of, because I'm always asked the principals how often, I say, wait a minute, what are we doing at the other school, the other town? This is not an offering of the district, and you'll see that it was not an action item. Constitutionally, these parents have the right to create this program, and parents have the right. And so it's not something that you would be required to offer at all schools. It's just informing you that there's a group of people who are working to create this opportunity for kids.
We used to have Wednesday after school and one of the complaints from the churches has been Wednesdays used to be for church nights, and now every night is sports. So we used to be able to do it Wednesdays from 3:30 right after school to 5, and then the parents would just pick them up from Grangeville Christian Church.
So I love that, and it would be perfect world if we could go back to that, but because of driver shortages and because of our official shortages, we're now like Friday Night Lights is not going to be Friday Night Lights very often anymore because there are not enough football officials to have all of the Friday night football games that are needed for all the various high schools at the different levels here. So they're moving those games to Saturdays, to Thursday, Wednesday, and so it used to be, and if that's the board's directive that we go back to that, we can, but you have to understand that that's really going to put transportation in a pickle as well as our school because of official shortages.
And the curriculum for this, what grades is it?
So The way the curriculum works, you can look it up, it's produced by the Gospel Project. And if
Mhm.
you like look up LifeWise, they'll have sample curriculum available. They're very intentional to make sure it's not politicized, but I think it's fairly generic in the fact that I don't know if it's necessarily structured as much as it just takes on different areas of the Bible and teaches it, but they're very careful not to get into like nuance.
But what grade levels? Is it K-12?
Yeah, it's made available to K-12. I don't know how it's, chunked, but yeah.
And
I
so,
just- and reiterate, this is additional opportunities at no cost to the district. right?
and the parents
Yeah, the district can.
choose it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's optional.
And
Totally
so, when would this take place during, like, for middle school, it's easy because you have your elective, so that would just be their elective, right? But like, how would it work with, what would they be missing?
They leave the elective classes at the elementary, PE, music, art.
Oh, okay.
Those are important. So incredibly important. And so I would encourage them to.
But the parents can choose.
If parents are going to make that choice, to really work hard to maybe not, instead of doing both PEs, do a PE and an art. So that scheduling magic would fall on the LifeWise people to be able to make that
Okay.
happen. Again, it's a parent choice, and I really, really believe, don't get me wrong, I believe in the art and the music and the PE. They're coming to us and saying, we'd like to provide this. They didn't have to have this be a board item. I said, I really think we should take this to the board because nothing should ever be a surprise. And they were generous and said, absolutely, we're more than happy.
And so are the volunteers, like, fingerprinted by the state?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's actually multiple forms because there's also ministry background checks that they have to go through. And the reason LifeWise is so great, and we're not just kind of pulling a release time out of the bag, which Cottonwood's done, a lot of people have done that.
Right.
The nice thing about LifeWise is that there are all those logistical policies in place, structure, curriculum that's set that can be viewed by the public. It's a really safe way to implement this. And they've done third-party studies that have found improvements in attendance, improvements in behavior, improvements in academic participation, where students are more engaged, and all those are available online as well.
Great.
Any other questions? Thanks for asking those questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Answering those questions.
And I know you're gonna be all humble and stuff, but I appreciate you pushing this thing, getting it started. Thank you. I think it's great.
I felt
Absolutely
like
great.
it was a safe option. Just wanted something that would be fair for everyone and not any person's game, but something that's already established and safe for the whole community.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So if our money drives from ADA and you pull them out of school for this, is that going to affect ADA?
It is not seat time.
It's not seat time.
So, because they're not, it's not a graded topic at the elementary, it's an elective, and so it doesn't count for that.
Well, PE,
And
music, and
elementary-
art are graded,
Well, so.
but they're not
Depends on the
counted.
grade level. and
Okay.
So, the thing that drives seat time is your senior class. They have to have 990 hours of seat time.
Okay.
The elementary is well over in the number of hours that they have, because I think they're only required, Carly might know that off the top of her head, I don't know the number, but it's way under that. So
680.
it will not impact ADA at all.
143 for a half day?
These are all questions. When they came to me, I was like, could you have not waited like 6 months till I wasn't here?
Not that I disagree.
But I reached out to other superintendents going, okay, what's
I'm
all
just
of this?
curious.
Line this up for me.
We used to have the Good News Club down here.
Yes.
I don't know if they still do. Melanie, do they still?
Last year.
They did last
It
year.
was after school, and again, it's all,
Yeah.
volunteers, and they just use our space in the library.
Yep. It was a good program too.
So is this gonna be non-denominational as well? So like LDS,
Yeah,
Jewish?
An
How's
LDS
that?
program could come in and do this, but LifeWise is not that. A Jewish program could come in and do this, but LifeWise is not that. LifeWise is a non-denominational, Bible-based education program. So basically, their intention is to really avoid all of that. denominational struggles, even like theological nuances in the Bible. They avoid that. They stick to really cut and dry things. Does that make?
Okay.
That's one of the benefits. Anyone could come in, as Alyssa was saying, and operate under these laws.
So that's what I see, like, yeah, we'll see.
The laws are in place.
Yeah.
And they can come in and.
So the LDS, they meet in the mornings at 6 o'clock in the morning till 7:30. Like, they can put a program together and do this during the school hour as well.
In some Idaho schools, they do.
They do a lot.
Oh, and so, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Southern
especially
Idaho.
Southern Idaho.
Yeah, but they do this all the time. And this is very established all over the state.
Yeah, what's oh, can't remember the school off the top of my head. I think they might have been Catholic.
All right, we have a motion to
Which was right next door.
I moved to, yep, we all, Larry to adjourn, John was second, we all agree.
Good? Aye.
Yeah, there's a school, and I'm trying to remember where it is, it's down by Tuna. They're a big school too.
Nope.
But
It's probably West Ada.
No, it's not West Ada. But they have a big temple, like literally right off the school.
Thank you.